The South China Sea is a vital waterway in Southeast Asia, bordered by China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines. This expansive body of water is not just a geographical feature but a crucial element in the economic and strategic landscape of the region. It's a major artery for global trade. Trillions of dollars in goods, from oil to electronics, pass through each year. The sea lanes here are among the busiest in the world, making it a critical passage for international commerce. For nearby countries, the sea is a lifeline, providing fish for millions and potentially vast reserves of oil and gas. These resources are essential for the economic stability and growth of the surrounding nations. These resources make the sea a hotspot for overlapping claims and rising tensions. The competition for control over these valuable assets has led to a complex web of disputes. China claims almost the entire sea, overlapping with the Philippines and other neighbors. This claim is marked by the infamous 9-dash line, which has been a source of contention for decades. This has led to decades of disputes, confrontations, and diplomatic standoffs. The situation is further complicated by the involvement of external powers, each with their own interests. Each country cites history or international law to justify its claim, but their interpretations clash. International courts have been involved, but resolutions remain elusive. For the Philippines, the sea is about sovereignty, security, and the livelihoods of its people. The waters are integral to the nation's identity and economic well-being. For China, it's about historical rights, national pride, and strategic control. The South China Sea is seen as a crucial part of its territorial integrity and regional dominance. The result, a high-stakes standoff with global implications. The tensions here have the potential to affect international relations and global trade. The South China Sea is no longer just a trade route, it's a flashpoint for regional and international power struggles. The strategic importance of this area cannot be overstated. The world is watching as these calm waters become the center of geopolitical friction. The future of the South China Sea remains uncertain, with each development closely monitored by the global community. Two hotspots define the dispute: Scarborough Shoal and the Spratly Islands. Scarborough Shoal, a cluster of rocks 220 kilometers from the Philippines, sits well within its exclusive economic zone. China, calling it Huangyan Island, claims it based on historical records, despite its distance from the Chinese mainland. The Spratlys are a scattered group of reefs and islands, claimed in whole or part by China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei. China has built artificial islands and military outposts in the Spratlys, shifting the balance of power. The Philippines sees these moves as direct threats to its security and sovereignty. Scarborough Shoal has been under effective Chinese control since 2012, blocking Filipino fishermen. These contested features are the front lines of a daily struggle, impacting local livelihoods and regional stability. In April 2025, the conflict took a digital turn when Google Maps began labeling the waters west of the Philippines as the West Philippine Sea by default. For Filipinos, this was a symbolic victory, global recognition of their claim. Philippine officials celebrated, seeing it as a boost to national identity and legal standing. China dismissed the change, insisting the area is the South China Sea and that digital labels don't alter sovereignty. Chinese commentators called it political hype, warning against using tech platforms to legitimize claims. The map update didn't change boundaries, but it fueled the information war. Both sides know that names and narratives shape global perceptions. Even a digital map can become a new battleground in this high-stakes dispute. The roots of today's tensions go back to 2013, when the Philippines challenged China at an international tribunal in The Hague. The tribunal ruled in 2016. China's sweeping 9-dash line claim had no legal basis under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. The court affirmed the Philippines' rights to resources within its exclusive economic zone, including Scarborough Shoal. China rejected the ruling, calling it invalid and refusing to change its actions. Since then, China has tightened its grip on disputed areas, ignoring international law. The ruling is a legal and moral win for the Philippines, but without enforcement, little has changed on the water. The gap between law and reality remains wide. The South China Sea remains a test of whether international rules can stand up to raw power. At the heart of the conflict are two irreconcilable stories, each rooted in a different understanding of history, law, and national pride. China bases its claim on historic rights, citing ancient maps and centuries of use, visualized by its sweeping 9-dash line. These maps, some dating back hundreds of years, are presented as evidence that Chinese fishermen and traders have long sailed these waters, making the region an integral part of China's heritage. For Beijing, the South China Sea is inseparable from national identity and security. The government often frames the dispute as a matter of sovereignty, rallying public support and emphasizing the need to protect what it sees as its rightful territory. China sees its actions as defending what's always been Chinese territory, not as aggression. Patrols, construction, and even confrontations are justified as necessary measures to safeguard national interests and historical claims. The Philippines, meanwhile, grounds its claim in modern international law, specifically UNCLOS, which grants coastal states a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. This legal framework, signed by both countries, is the cornerstone of Manila's argument. Manila argues that Scarborough, Shoal, and parts of the Spratlys fall squarely within its EEZ. Filipino fishermen have relied on these waters for generations, and the government insists that international law should protect their rights. The Philippines also points to historical evidence, but its main argument is legal. International law should trump vague historical claims. Manila believes that clear, universally accepted rules are the only way to resolve such disputes peacefully. The 2016 tribunal ruling backed this view, declaring China's 9-dash line invalid under international law. However, China refuses to accept the decision, dismissing it as biased and irrelevant to its historical rights. For the Philippines, the issue is about rules and fairness. For China, it's about history and power. Each side sees the other as ignoring fundamental truths. One legal, the other historical. The dispute is a clash between a rules-based order and a vision of historical destiny, with both sides unwilling to compromise on what they see as core national interests. This fundamental divide keeps the conflict alive, fueling tensions and making a peaceful resolution ever more elusive. Since 2024, tensions in the South China Sea have escalated dramatically, with real-world confrontations at sea becoming more frequent and intense. The region has become a flashpoint, drawing in not just local actors, but also global attention. Chinese Coast Guard ships have repeatedly used water cannons against Philippine vessels near Scarborough Shoal, damaging boats and putting civilian crews at risk. These aggressive actions have heightened fears of a direct military clash and raised the risk of escalation in the disputed waters. Both sides accuse each other of dangerous maneuvers, with each incident fueling mutual distrust. Satellite images reveal China blocking access to key areas and resupplying its forces, while Philippine ships attempt to assert their own claims, often coming within meters of Chinese vessels. After US-Philippine military drills, China responded with its own large-scale exercises, a clear show of force meant to signal its resolve. These military posturings have become routine, with each side demonstrating its capabilities and willingness to defend its interests. In the Spratlys, China and the Philippines have faced off over tiny sandbars like Sandy Cay, trading accusations and deploying personnel. Even these small, seemingly insignificant features have become flashpoints, with both sides determined not to back down. China uses so-called gray zone tactics, coercion short of open war, by deploying Coast Guard and maritime militia to intimidate neighbors and assert control. These tactics blur the line between peace and conflict, making it harder to predict or prevent escalation. The Philippines, with a much smaller navy and limited resources, struggles to respond effectively. As a result, it increasingly turns to international partners, such as the United States and other allies, for support, training, and joint patrols. These incidents highlight not only the risk of miscalculation, but also the limits of international law. Diplomatic efforts and legal rulings have so far failed to resolve the underlying disputes or prevent further confrontations. The standoff has become a daily reality, with both Chinese and Philippine ships patrolling the contested waters, each side constantly testing the other's resolve and readiness. With military forces on high alert, and tensions simmering just below the surface, the danger of a wider conflict remains ever present, casting a long shadow over the region's future. The dispute has drawn in powerful outsiders, especially the United States. The US, a treaty ally of the Philippines, insists on freedom of navigation and backs Manila's legal claims, though it takes no position on sovereignty. U.S. warships regularly patrol the area, and joint military exercises with the Philippines have ramped up, signaling support and deterrence. The U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty looms in the background, raising the stakes for any armed clash. ASEAN, the regional bloc, has struggled to act decisively due to internal divisions and some members' close ties to China. ASEAN's statements are cautious, calling for peace but rarely naming China directly. Talks on a binding code of conduct with China have dragged on for years, with little progress. The region's unity is fragile, leaving the Philippines to rely on outside partners. The South China Sea dispute is now a test of alliances and regional diplomacy. With tensions high, the need for peaceful dialogue is urgent. A conflict here would disrupt global trade, threaten millions of livelihoods, and destabilize the region for decades. The world urges de-escalation and a return to negotiations. Even small agreements on fishing or environmental protection could build trust and reduce risks. International law and diplomacy, not force, must guide the way forward. Transparency and communication are essential to prevent misunderstandings from spiraling out of control. The choices made by leaders in Beijing and Manila will shape the region's future. They can choose confrontation or the harder path of negotiation. The hope is for calm, rational discussion to prevail, for the sake of fishermen, traders, and all who depend on these waters. The world is watching, hoping for peace in the South China Sea.